There are secrets the ancient world never forgot. Secrets that were passed from mouth to ear, from father to son, from rabbi to student, in whispered tones in the dim light of sacred rooms. Secrets so simple they were hidden in plain sight. Secrets embedded not in grand temples or gilded scrolls alone, but in the most ordinary elements of daily life, in water, in salt, in fire, and in something that most people today overlook entirely. Something sitting quietly in their kitchen, something with a sharp and ancient scent, something that holds, according to Hebrew wisdom, thousands of years old. A power of purification and attraction so profound it was once connected to the holiest rituals of the Israelite people. What you are about to receive is not a superstition. It is not folklore assembled from half-remembered tales. It is a teaching rooted in the Torah, in the Talmud, in the mystical traditions of Kabbalah, and in the practical wisdom that Jewish communities carried across every desert, every exile, and every new beginning. This is a teaching about alignment, about how the physical world and the spiritual world speak to each other through symbols, through intention, and through action. About how GD placed signals of his abundance in the most humble of places, waiting for those with eyes to see and ears to hear. Before we go any further, if you are watching this on the Jewish Wisdom channel, and you have not yet subscribed, please take this moment right now to subscribe and to activate the notification bell. Every time you do that, you are choosing to keep this ancient wisdom alive, to allow it to reach more souls who are searching for truth and transformation. This channel exists because of you, and your presence here matters more than you know. Now, before we enter the heart of this teaching, I want to give you something to carry with you. A declaration, a seed of truth to plant inside your heart right now. Write this in the comments below. I am open to receive abundance in every area of my life. Write it with intention. Write it as a prayer. Because the act of writing, of declaring, is itself an ancient Hebrew practice. The spoken and written word carries creative power, and what you affirm today, you begin to build today. The ancient rabbis taught that the world was created through language. Through the letters of the Hebrew alphabet, GD formed reality itself. And so when you write that declaration, when you speak it aloud, you are participating in the same sacred act of creation. You are not merely wishing for prosperity. You are calling it into being through the power of intentional speech. Now, why vinegar? Why something so common, so sharp, so seemingly ordinary? That is the question that opens the door to everything. Because in the Jewish tradition, the most powerful spiritual tools are never the most elaborate ones. They are the ones hiding in the ordinary. The mezuzah on the doorpost, the salt on the Shabbat table, the water poured over the hands each morning. The divine is embedded in the mundane, and the mundane becomes divine the moment intention enters it. Vinegar has a history. It has a soul. And that soul, as you are about to discover, is woven into the very fabric of scripture and sacred law, in ways that will leave you seeing your home, your habits, and your spiritual life in an entirely new light. The ancient world understood something we have forgotten, that every physical substance carries a spiritual signature, and that when used with awareness and prayer, even the simplest element can become a channel for divine blessing. This is not about magic. This is about covenant. It is about the ancient agreement between the Creator and His people, that those who walk in alignment, who honor the sacred in the everyday, who purify their spaces and their intentions, will find that the gates of abundance remain open to them. That prosperity is not something chased, it is something attracted. And attraction begins with the condition of your spiritual environment. What you are about to learn has been practiced quietly by Jewish families for generations. Mothers passed it to daughters in the kitchen. Rabbis encoded it in commentary. Kabbalists revealed its deeper dimensions to their most trusted students. And today, in this moment, it is being transmitted to you. Not by coincidence. The fact that you are here, watching this, feeling drawn to these words, is itself a sign. The Torah teaches us that the soul is guided to the teachings it needs in the precise moment it is ready to receive them. So stay close. Open your heart. And let what is ancient speak to what is eternal in you. The Hebrew word for vinegar is chometz, but here we must be careful and precise. Because in the sacred language, every word carries multiple layers of meaning. And the relationship between words reveals a theology, a map of the divine mind. Chometz in one context refers to leavened bread, the substance that is removed from every Jewish home before Passover, in one of the most dramatic and meaningful rituals in all of human religious history. But the root of that word, chet, memte zadi, speaks of fermentation, of transformation. of a process by which something changes its essential nature, under pressure and time. And this is where the revelation begins to unfold. In the book of Leviticus, in the heart of the Torah itself, GD speaks to Moses and gives specific instructions about what may and may not be brought to the altar. Among these instructions, there is a prohibition against bringing levon or honey as a fire offering. The rabbis of the Talmud, in Tractate Menakat, spend considerable time examining why. And in their examination, they reveal something that reaches far beyond ritual law. They reveal a spiritual principle about purity, about the nature of fermentation, about what happens when something is allowed to become more than it was originally meant to be. But there is another dimension. In the book of Ruth, a book that is, at its core, a story of loyalty, redemption, and provision, Vinegar appears in a moment of extraordinary tenderness. Boaz, the wealthy kinsman and future redeemer of Ruth, invites her to eat at his table and says to her, "Come here and eat of the bread and dip your morsel in the vinegar." This is Boaz speaking. Boaz, who the rabbis identify as a man of tremendous spiritual standing, a judge of Israel, a man whose home was a model of divine blessing. And what does he offer? Bread dipped in vinegar. The Talmudic sages, in their commentary on this passage, note that vinegar was known in the ancient Near East as a substance with protective and preservative qualities. It was used to cleanse wounds. It was used to preserve food. It was used to purify surfaces. The Roman soldiers at the crucifixion offered it. The Israelites in the wilderness carried it. It was a staple of the ancient world precisely because it understood something about life that we have forgotten, that preservation requires transformation, and that some of the most powerful purifying agents in creation come from a process of intense change. The Kabbalistic tradition takes this even further. In the Zohar, the foundational text of Jewish mysticism, the concept of purifying a space before inviting divine blessing is foundational. The Zohar teaches that certain forms of negative energy, what Kabbalists call klippot, the husks or shells that obscure the divine light, can cling to surfaces, to corners, to the energy of places where strife, stagnation, or spiritual neglect have accumulated. And the practice of clearing, cleansing, and consecrating a space is not merely hygienic. It is a spiritual act of the highest order. This is where the practice of vinegar enters the spiritual conversation with full force. Because in multiple traditions rooted in Jewish practice and passed through communities across Spain, Portugal, North Africa, and the Levant, vinegar was used specifically in two places within the home, places identified by the sages as energetically critical to the flow of blessing, to cleanse and prepare those spaces for the reception of divine abundance. The first place is the threshold, the entrance to your home. Not just the physical door, but the energetic gateway through which everything that enters your life must pass. The mezuzah, affixed to this doorpost, contains the Shema, the declaration of divine unity, rolled inside. But before the mezuzah can do its full work, the sages teach, the space around the threshold must be clean. Not just physically, but vibrationally, spiritually. And vinegar, with its natural purifying properties, and its ancient association with boundary keeping and protection, was used to wash this threshold, not as a ritual obligation codified in halakha, but as a folk practice of tremendous spiritual wisdom passed from generation to generation. The second place is the center of the home, the area where the family gathers, where meals are shared, where conversation flows. In the Jewish spiritual map of the home, this space corresponds to what Kabbalists call the middle pillar, the axis of balance, the place where masculine and feminine energies, giving and receiving, action and rest, find their equilibrium. When this space is energetically clear, the whole household comes into alignment. When it is congested with unresolved energy, with the residue of old arguments, old fears, old losses, the flow of blessing is impeded. If you are enjoying this teaching and you want to see more content like this, you have the opportunity to support this channel directly by clicking the Obrigado button below this video and contributing whatever you feel in your heart. Every contribution helps us continue bringing this ancient wisdom to the world. And it is an act of tzedakah, of righteous giving, that, according to Jewish teaching, opens the channels of abundance in your own life in return. So how does one actually do this? How does one take what is ancient and sacred and bring it into a Tuesday morning, into a modern kitchen, into an ordinary life that is anything but ordinary once you begin to see it through the lens of spiritual awareness? The practice is disarmingly simple, and its simplicity is part of its power. Because the Jewish tradition has always understood that the highest spiritual disciplines are not the most complex ones, They are the ones that transform the mundane into the sacred through the alchemy of conscious intention. Begin in the morning. The Talmud teaches that each day is a new creation, and the morning hours carry a particular spiritual quality, what the mystics call ratzin, divine will made freshly available. Wake before the noise of the world begins. Take a small container of white vinegar, natural, unprocessed, as close to its original form as possible. Before you open the container, pause, breathe, and speak a prayer of intention. It does not need to be elaborate. It can be as simple as, Creator of the universe, I consecrate this act to you. I cleanse this threshold in your name. I prepare this home for your blessing. Let every good thing that is meant for me find its way through this door. Then take the vinegar, diluted slightly with water if you prefer, and wash the threshold of your front door. Not just the doorstep, but the frame, the lintel, the area directly in front of the entrance. As you do this, you are doing what the priests of the temple once did on a grand scale with sacred water. You are declaring your space holy. You are drawing a spiritual boundary that says, what is aligned with blessing may enter freely, and what is not aligned with blessing has no claim here. The second place, the center of your home, receives the same treatment. But here, in addition to the physical application, the practice deepens into meditation. As you cleanse this central space, you are asked by the tradition to visualize light. Specifically, the golden light that the Zohar associates with the Shekinah, the feminine indwelling presence of GD, the presence that rested upon the tabernacle in the wilderness, the presence that fills the home of those who walk in righteousness and prepare their space for her arrival. Now write this in the comments below, and write it with the full weight of your intention. My home is a sanctuary of blessing, and abundance flows to me naturally and continuously. Write it. Declare it. Let the words leave your fingertips and enter the world as a living prayer. And if you enjoy content like this and want to support this channel, we have a special material in the description of this video, the Jewish Wisdom ebook, that goes far deeper into these ancient practices and secrets, sharing with you the wisdom that has guided Jewish families toward prosperity and spiritual wholeness for millennia. This material will not only enrich your spiritual life, it will also help us continue this work on YouTube, bringing these teachings to every soul that needs them. The link is in the description of this video and also in the first pinned comment. The rabbis teach a principle that is profound in its implications. Hachana, preparation. Nothing sacred happens without preparation. Before the Sabbath, the home is cleaned, candles are prepared, the table is set. Before the high holy days, there are 10 days of return and reflection. Before the Exodus, there was the night of preparation, the doorposts marked, the meal eaten in readiness. Preparation is not a detail. Preparation is the practice. And what you are learning today is a practice of preparation, preparing your home, your threshold, and your inner life to receive the prosperity that the Creator desires to pour into every life that is ready for it. There is a story told among the Hasidic masters, one of those stories that seems simple on the surface, but contains within it an ocean of meaning. It is said that a student once came to his Rebbe in a state of great distress. He was a good man. He prayed 3 times daily. He gave charity. He studied Torah, and yet his home felt heavy. His business had stagnated, and a sense of spiritual suffocation had settled over everything he loved. He looked at his Rebbe with eyes full of honest confusion, and said, "Rebbe, I do everything right. Why has blessing left my house?" The Rebbe was quiet for a long time. Then he rose from his chair, walked to the window, and looked out at the street below. Without turning to face his student, he said, "A vessel that is full cannot receive more. You have been asking GD to fill you, but you have not yet emptied yourself of what is blocking the flow. Your home is not lacking blessing. Your home is lacking space for blessing to land." The student did not fully understand at first, but he went home and he did something radical. He cleaned not just the surfaces, not just the floors. He cleaned the corners where old things had been forgotten. He cleaned the threshold where the energy of 100 difficult days had accumulated. He cleaned the center of his home with prayer and with the ancient vinegar his grandmother had told him about as a child, a memory he had dismissed as old folk tradition. He did it not because he was certain it would work, but because he chose to honor the practice, to honor the wisdom of those who came before him, to make space. 3 weeks later, he returned to the Rebbe, and without saying a word about what had changed outwardly, the Rebbe looked at him and smiled. "Now," the Rebbe said, "now you are ready." This story is not merely a metaphor, it is a transmission, because what the student discovered, and what you are discovering right now, is that prosperity is not withheld from us by an indifferent universe. It is blocked by the accumulation of spiritual and energetic residue that we carry without realizing it. In the home, in the body, in the mind. And the ancient Jewish wisdom about purification is not about cleanliness for its own sake. It is about making space for the divine. It is about removing the klippot, the husks of old pain and stagnation, so that the light of blessing can penetrate every corner of your existence. The Torah teaches in Deuteronomy, "Blessed shall you be in the city, and blessed shall you be in the field." The word for city in Hebrew is ear, from the root meaning to be awake, to be watchful, to be consciously present. And field, sodia, refers to open space, to the place of expansion and growth. The blessing, the Torah is saying, covers you in your contained places and in your open places, in your home and in your world, in your structured life, and in the uncharted territories of your future. But, and this is what the rabbis emphasize, the blessing flows to those who are awake in their city, who are intentional in their home, who are conscious of what they allow into the spaces they inhabit. You came to this video today for a reason. Nothing in the spiritual life is accidental. The Jewish teaching of Hashgacha Pratit, divine providence at the individual level, insists that every encounter, every teaching, every moment of revelation that lands in your life was placed there by a wisdom greater than coincidence. You were meant to hear about vinegar and thresholds and sacred space today. You were meant to remember that your home is not just a building, it is a vessel. And vessels, to receive, must first be clean and open. If this message has moved something in you, if it has awakened a memory, a longing, a recognition of something true, write it in the comments. Tell us what you felt. Tell us what changed as you listened. Tell us what you are going to do differently in your home and in your spiritual practice. Your words are not just feedback, they are testimony. And testimony is one of the most powerful spiritual forces in the Hebrew tradition. It builds faith in others, and it deepens faith in yourself. As you step into this practice, know that you are joining a lineage. Every person who has ever washed their threshold with prayer, who has ever stood in the center of their home and invited the divine presence in, who has ever understood that the sacred and the ordinary are not two separate worlds, but one reality seen from different angles. They are all with you. The chain of transmission is unbroken. The wisdom is alive. And if you want to go deeper, if you want to hold in your hands a guide that brings together the most powerful Jewish teachings on prosperity, spiritual alignment, and the secrets of abundance, we have prepared the Jewish Wisdom ebook on abundant Jewish prosperity, especially for you. It is available through the link in the description of this video and in the first pinned comment. Inside, you will find teachings that have guided generations of Jewish families through scarcity and into flourishing, not because they were lucky, but because they understood the principles that govern the flow of divine blessing. This is a resource that goes beyond information. It is a companion for your spiritual journey, and it is our gift to this community that we are building together. The threshold is ready, the center is clear, the vessel is open. And what has always been meant for you, the abundance, the peace, the fullness of a life aligned with divine purpose, it is already moving toward you. GD does not bless a closed door, but the moment you open it, truly open it, with clean hands and a prepared heart, there is no force in the universe strong enough to stop what is written for you from arriving. That is the seal. That is the ancient promise. And it belongs to you. _Jewish Wisdom Channel, Abundant Jewish Prosperity ebook, available in the video description and first pinned comment.